All right. So Trump bans birthright citizenship and birth tourism. We've been down this road before, right? Well, not so fast. They're evolving. They're learning. It's almost like they had a sort of, they had like the course of action they wanted to take, but then if that didn't work, then they had another course of action prepared. It's not like when this thing doesn't work, we're just going to stop and give up. You try this thing, that doesn't work, so then you go try the next thing, and that doesn't work, and then it might be prudent to think about what those next things will be and prepare for them ahead of time. But the problem is we don't have a word. We don't have a word that describes this process of like thinking of alternate possibilities and making preparations for which order to do these things in and how to go about doing them. If only someone would invent a word to describe that, because then that's the thing that we could trust in. We could trust that thing that describes this process of developing contingencies. Maybe that's something that you guys can work on. So they're going at this again from a different angle now, using the trust the contingencies. Yeah. Lord Breezy says every SCOTUS decision will literally tell you how to get your way. Yes. Because this is the thing about SCOTUS, is SCOTUS wants to preserve itself as well. So SCOTUS is actually not invested in the complete collapse of the civilization, but it's also kind of pot committed. So they're dealing with a pretty thin hand themselves, but as we've seen already, they're giving the administration, they're guiding the administration through effectuating these things. Now, on one hand, you could call this extend to pretend, like they're trying to drag it out so that they can get rid of him, which is true. Like there is a sincere motivation to just drag it out until you get rid of him. But what happens if you don't get rid of him? Then all of that dragging it out was actually just giving him ground. And you just conceded ground. So clearly this is set up for the midterms. Every so often, we have these things called elections. And these elections bear results. The question is, how real are they? And even if you can get to how real are they, the next best question would be like how reliable are they? But we can debate those things all we want. The fact of the matter is, they're going to keep happening. They're not just going to stop. Everyone would lose their mind if they stopped. And the goal here is to keep advancing forward. Keep a floor on the system. And let the old one, you have to accelerate the old one's collapse, but not so much that it collapses too fast, while you're also stepping on the gas for the new one, but not so fast that you spin out of control. It's a very delicate balancing game. So the elections are going to keep happening. We're going to keep having elections. And every single election is going to have different implications. But for the time being, they're going to be very important. You have to have a pragmatic and agile mindset about these things. So what the president has done here is created two new primary vectors for continuing to attack the problem of illicit immigration in the country to the extent that he can. He doesn't have Congress on his side yet. People are like, oh, well, he's had all three branches, you fucking retards. Of course he hasn't. He obviously does not have a majority in the Senate. And he probably doesn't have a majority in the House. Like if the rubber really had to meet the road, there's going to be people in his own party who are going to peel off from that because they don't have the stones to go through with it. So the only available solutions are ones that the executive can pursue self-containedly. And then it's up to the executive being able to maximize its own enforcement. I'm speaking of the executive as a body itself. The question of enforcement is another thing, but in order to get to the question of enforcement, you have to first go through these steps to get there. So the president has issued these two executive orders. One of them bans birthright citizenship, and the other one bans birth tourism. And they did this specifically pursuant to the Supreme Court ruling against them in Barbara, the case recently regarding birthright citizenship. They're continuing to say this is an atrocity, but we're bound to what the Supreme Court has said, because in order for them to actually maximize enforcement of any policy, they cannot be seen as directly flouting the Supreme Court as a failed strategy right now, because he has a fake majority. They will impeach him in a minute. So you have to be pragmatic about this. What can you accomplish? Well, you can issue powerful executive orders that are directly tailored to the Supreme Court, so optimized for succeeding in the judiciary, because you're going to continue having to deal with the judiciary. It's not going away yet. Getting rid of the judiciary is a win condition. In other words, when you win, it's conditional on you winning. And even then, you're not going to get rid of the judiciary. Do you even understand what a judiciary is? You can replace it, but the only way that replacing it works is if people believe in it, because that's all a judiciary is. A bunch of experts who are deferred to make decisions. This is older than Western civilization. Judiciaries aren't going away. So whatever the executive does, it has to do in concert with the judiciary. Now, he could say, you guys are out of your minds. You guys are treasonous. This is absurd. And we're going to keep revisiting this matter. We're going to keep doing this, because this is what people in a civilization do. By definition, the people who live in a civilization are the ones who don't decide they just want to burn everything down. This is like a prerequisite for being in a civilization, is I am the person who is not going to decide I don't like how things are and I'm going to go burn things down. Civilization is defined as the thing that is carved off from those people. What are we doing in a civilization? We're isolating ourselves from the people who want to burn everything down. So, becoming one of the people who want to burn everything down is definitionally anti-civilizational. You are an enemy of civilization. The executive is going to continue. They've made it very clear. They're not backing down on this issue. They're going to continue pressing forward on it. And now they actually have the imprimatur of legitimacy here because of some of the stuff the Supreme Court said. So they've moved the ball forward. Now it's up to enforcement. And how do you ensure enforcement? Maintaining continuity of government. Which brings you back to the midterms. Now, the midterms don't happen in a vacuum. You're not just judging the popularity of the Republican Party. You're not just judging the popularity of Trump. You're also judging the credibility and popularity of the alternatives. And it's not the alternatives of people, and you're not judging this among the people who are not going to vote. You're judging this among the people who are going to vote. So when you say, oh, I was a 3-time Trump voter and I'm so angry about how he's sucking off Bibi Netanyahu's cock every day and I'm not going to vote for him again. Okay, so remove you from the column of who's going to vote. You're out of that column. How many people are leaving the column of not going to vote for Democrats? I'm going to tell you a hell of a lot. Many of them are just going to opt out. I expect that turnout among Democrats is going to be low. Turnout among Republicans is probably going to be standard to high. And the whole nation is not, a sample of the whole nation is not relevant here. It's a sample of the particular most important key elections. And we're getting signals on what those are going to look like. There are some negative signals for Republicans, broadly speaking. But there are a hell of a lot of negative signals for Democrats. They are in dire, dire straits. They're desperate for money. What do they need? How do they need? How do they get money? By making a compelling case that they're going to be worth it. And how are they making a compelling case that they're going to be worth it? There's a generational thing that's happening in the Democrat Party as well. And the younger up-and-coming people are either extraordinarily unimpressive or they are open communists, racial minority communists. And when you're a serious person who is probably like a political normie but wields a ton of capital, you're like, I'm going to need to protect my investment if I'm going to invest in that, particularly because I know if it goes bad, there's a very good chance that I'm going to get dragged out and be the subject of a Trump Truth Social post. And maybe he'll just decide to start investigating me. This is just one of many, many factors. I have been on the record for over a year that the Republicans are not just going to not lose in the midterms. They're going to pick up seats in the midterms. And I continue to abide by this.